Some of the topics, themes, and subject matter featured in this talk may be difficult for certain audiences. A list of these topics has been included in the video description.
So, my name is Justin Maxon, and I'm a photographer and educator and a socially engaged artist. And I also teach at a university in Northern California, where I currently live and where this project takes place. My working methods involve basically building a really deep personal relationship with the people, the place, and the context. And what that does is it basically ensures that my work is responsive to the needs of the community involved, thus making it meaningful and relevant to them as a core principle. And this story here is not mine to tell, and the person that I've been collaborating with unfortunately had to leave this morning, so she's not able to be here, and I'm gonna do my best job telling you that story. So this takes place in Northern California, a rural reservation called Hoopa Valley Reservation, which is where I grew up. My father lived there for my entire childhood. And my dear friend, she's like a mother to me. I love her dearly. We've known each other for nearly a decade. I feel like I'm part of the family. Over the years, she had communicated to me. We had many conversations about obstacles that she was facing around substance use, right? Which is my background as well. I'm in recovery from an opioid use disorder. I was addicted to heroin when I was a teenager. So a lot of my work involves like deconstructing the stigma of substance abuse. So that's kind of basically what my work is about. So for many years, she was, telling me all of these things that were happening to her and her family, all of these like failures in care, right? Especially in a rural place like Hoopa. And what happened was that her granddaughter of 13, who was using fentanyl and was addicted to fentanyl, and she couldn't find care, right? There was 2 care facilities for Native youth in California, and they wouldn't take her because she had needed 2 higher levels of care, right? She had a couple suicide attempts, and they basically wouldn't take her. So for 6 months, literally for every day for 6 months, she like followed her granddaughter around, like every day, like just making sure that nothing happened to her as she was trying to get care. And they ended up finding a facility in Colorado that claimed to be indigenous centered and ended up being a prison for youth. And so she was there for 7-8 months and was removed from contact from her family, from her grandmother. They put her in a padded cell. They basically put her, in an isolation. So, she had a rough time. So at that point, we basically pitched the story to a number of publications, and the New York Times opinion piece took the story. And so we worked on it for about a year, and Judy wrote the story. So, all of these words are hers, right? So this is like her narrative, right? This is her voice. She captioned all the images, which is an important part of, I think, deconstructing the stigma of substance abuse. Within the mainstream media, right, it plays a significant role in shaping our attitudes towards addiction, right? What are the images that you see, right, associated with addiction, right? Needle in the arm, overdose, arrest, death. These are the images that have been kind of enshrined in our minds, right? And what they do is they basically blame the user, and they say that essentially that they're the ones to blame for their life choices. For many people, given their life experience, using may be the only mechanism for survival, right? So I think that's an important part of reframing the narrative, is having people tell their own stories, right? So essentially, the story also continues, like basically at a certain point in her life, every single person was using in her home, and her grandkids that she had raised since since they were born were taken away from her because of her adult son's use. And so she's been fighting to get them back for about over a year and a half. And there's a thing called ICWA, which is a law that was designed to protect Native youth from being taken from their families. And what's happened is that it's being used against the family. There are 3 people making the decision on ruling the case that are biased towards the family and do not like the family. And so that's a big part of the issue, is that they're trying. Part of the story is that we want to reform this law so it protects the family more. What else? So one of the things I want to do is I want to have everyone get up and look at the exhibition and read Judy's words. And then I think there are a few of you that I've asked to basically look at to see what's meaningful to you. And I want to ask some of you in the audience to read those passages out loud and why it's meaningful to you. There's a lot here to digest. There's also some QR codes. Judy and I are working on a documentary right now, so there's a lot of digital content. It would take a while to actually digest it all. One thing I want to mention before I ask y'all to see if you have anything to say is that this project, Judy, Judy's an author. She wrote a book about 8 years ago and self-published, and wasn't able to kind of promote it because she didn't have the resources. But a New York City publisher saw the story and offered her a 2-book deal, and she's been invited to speak at like a dozen speaking engagements. Like she was invited to a State Department conference in Mexico City on the fentanyl crisis. So this project has been amazing for her, and that to me is what it's all about. Like when we came here together, seeing her interact and engage with everyone, like that to me is why I do what I do. So anyways, I just wanted to share that. So yeah, I don't know if any of y'all want to read some of her words. Yeah.
My name's Corey. I'm really grateful to have seen this project with you all. I think this is a really meaningful project, and I chose this little blurb to read, and it's meaningful to me because it talks about the idea of tough love. In the classes I teach, we talk a lot about love and what it means to love your family, specifically like parent and child relationships, and really considering what love means in our relationships and how we portray that to each other. And this idea of tough love, I think, is prevalent in a lot of communities of color and Black communities as well. And I think it's important to sort of break down the idea that tough love is necessary and is the only way to sort of teach a lesson or a tough lesson to a child. And to just think about how we care for each other. And so with that, I'm going to read the quote. I did everything possible to keep my family together. I never bought into the idea of tough love because I don't believe it really works for Native families like mine. We are so hard on ourselves to begin with. Instead, I unconditionally love my children. I'm terrified of losing them. When OxyContin became more regulated, people switched to heroin. I thought nothing could be worse than heroin. And then fentanyl came along. I thought nothing could be worse than fentanyl. And now the animal tranquilizer, Tranq, or Xyloxine, is on the horizon. I'm fearful of what the next monster might be. Will my sons make it?
Cool. Thank you. That was awesome, Corey. Appreciate that, man. Yeah. What? Yeah, do it. Yeah, please do. Maybe next.
Basically, stood out to me. Well, I wanted to say thank you for allowing us to see your pictures. They're beautiful.
Yeah, thank you for coming.
As I just came and I was reading all the captions, it really touched home, like on a different level with me. It just, especially since family is like a big thing with me. Like I love family. When it comes to family, it's like a big topic for me. So when I read these pictures, and I actually read this one, and it says, I don't know what to tell the 6-year-old when she calls and she says, Grandma, I just want you. That spoke to me on a personal level because my grandmother passed away, and I think about my younger self all the time when it comes to my grandmother and stuff. So when I read that, it just spoke to like a me type of, like, it was like a personal connection with this one. Also, I really love this one where she talks about, it says, Roger and Ethel has been through so much together, including Roger getting shot in the head and chest in 2015. It was a horrible time and it caused a lot of trauma, but only made their bond stronger. Today they are almost 3 months clean, and although they are homeless in Eureka, they are working, doing outpatient programs and attending groups daily. They continue to fight for reunification within their children. This is just like a perfect meaning of family. Like no matter how hard stuff it goes, no matter how hard times get and stuff, you never give up on your family. You keep pushing them for your best, and no matter the argument, the fight, just always remember at the end of the day, your family is supposed to hold close to your heart. So just never give up on your family. So yeah.
Thank you. That was awesome. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Thank you. Patrick, you want to go?
Come on, Pat.
Thanks, man.
Thank you, Justin, and Judith in their absence. Even just, it's inspiring, man. I want to tell you, it's inspiring. And,
Thank you.
Judith's story.
She'll love to hear it.
Judith's story is just amazing. It's incredible. Everybody's got a story to tell, and that's how people resonate with certain things. And this quote right here stood out to me. It says, "Our lives became a series of crises that quickly became our norm. We lived in survival mode." So to break that down on what it means to me is like, you guys were only doing what y'all felt was normal because that was the environment you was in. This is what you was exposed to. And so these things have became normalized. So you were comfortable in that state. So you were in a survival mode. You're just doing anything in survival mode. You're doing anything to survive. And when you doing things like this, I want to talk to the kids. We have a diverse community and people here today. When you're dealing with being in survival mode, you're doing stuff to survive, to just get on. But when you make it to the next mode, which is thrival mode, that means you're really succeeding. And I want to give the flowers to you and Judith on doing this. And you know, it's amazing what we see here today, and the photos and everything that we took away from this event. You know, it's bigger than just looking at people's you know, creations and stuff. It's stories that a lens of a camera can tell for certain things, and the story that it has behind people and feelings and expressions of how people feel. And you know, it's just an amazing feeling to be able to sit here and talk to the youth and pour out to everybody, and everybody just sit here and listen to your story. Don't really know what you've been through, but we can see it. You know, we don't know how the process was, but we see how it ended. What I want to say to the youth is, you know, times is gonna get hard. Things happen in this day and age, but you can't give up. You understand? You know, this drug abuse and things will come at you. It's so much things, but you have to stay grounded in what you know. Understand that there's a difference between right and wrong, and you guys know that. And so, you know, even the little kids listening, if you don't take anything away from what you see today, know that picking up a camera could save your life. Picking up a camera could tell your story, even if you don't know how to talk like me and articulate like me, and you'll get older and get to this level because it took time for me to get here too. But you guys are geniuses. At such a young age, you got to understand that your brain is like a sponge, and you got to absorb things like this and be in organizations and foundations like this that show you different experiences so you can take over the world. The world is yours. I thank you for this time. This is how we're gonna wrap it up.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah, that was, thanks man, appreciate it, yeah. Thank you, yeah.
So basically the photo that I mainly relate to is this one right here. And basically, Roger and Ethel's children were removed at 11 months ago and remained in the foster system. They were moved 2.5 hours from home and are too little to understand why they can't be with their family. I've raised them since they were babies and have been fighting every day to get them returned home. But I carry my own stigma for my son's addictions. Basically, growing up in a household, me and my siblings, my big younger brothers, we didn't really have parent figures, and we was raised by our aunts. And so, getting to experience that, and like, you know, it's only one once in a lifetime thing that you can have, a connection with your mother or your father that you can really have. And so for anybody who really does have a bond with their kid, it's good to cherish that, hold that, keep that in your heart. Because at the end of the day, your kids is a new generation. And who knows, they might just be the next superstar, take you out of here. So love your kids, make sure they do everything. You can do everything for them. Wow.
Thank you. Thank you all so much for being here. So, oh, you had a question? Yeah, sorry.
It's not a question, it was talking about that.
Yeah, do it.
Not to shorten any of her words, but in here it says, "It's my time to reflect. My heart is broken. People often tell me how strong I am, but I believe I'm the opposite. If I were a stronger person, I would have found my way out of this nightmare." I think this is really strong and beautiful how she can see or show how vulnerable she is in all of these situations, and how she can show her whole entire story throughout with no matter detail. She just gave it all. So I just
Cool.
really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. That was awesome. Wow. That was good. All good. Have a wonderful day. Thank you all again.